New Jersey teenagers charged with murdering their baby have in common with reputed mob boss Vincent Gigante? Well, aside from the fact that they both had brushes with the law, at one time or another, they both worn the same bracelet. We're not talking about fashion accessories here. We're talking about electronic ankle bracelets, the hottest trend in the corrections industry and technology's answer to overcrowded prisons and understaffed parole and probation departments. The device was originally invented so farmers could keep track of their cows. Now it's being used by law enforcement agencies all across the country to keep track of more than 80,000 criminals. The big question is, does it work?
What we're going to do now is put the anklet on your leg.
The bracelet is really a transmitter about the size of a beeper that sends out a signal notifying law enforcement every time someone wearing the ankle bracelet gets more than 150 feet from an electronic device attached to his home telephone. It's called home detention, and it's being sold as a way to monitor and restrict the movement of criminal offenders, confining them at home instead of in jail. David Hunter is the one doing most of the selling.
It is the most secure sanction for people who serve their time in the community that you can find. There is nothing that you can do to these people that would make it any more secure unless you put them all in prison.
Hunter is president of BI Incorporated, which manufactures 70% of all the home detention monitors currently in use in the United States. And he has contracts with 1,300 different jurisdictions to keep track of 14,000 criminal offenders from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. And with public pressure mounting to come up with less expensive alternatives to building more and more prisons, BI is marketing home detention as a low-cost solution.
You could take these people out of those expensive, overcrowded, dangerous facilities and incarcerate them in their own homes. There are a bunch of positive things that begin to happen. One, they can work for a living. And instead of being a ward of society, they can actually pay taxes. They can pay restitution to their victims. And in many, many cases, they pay for the privilege of being on home arrest.
And in fact, that's what's happening in Denver, Colorado, where people like David Busby, who is convicted of drunk driving, pays the city about $10 a day for the privilege of wearing the bracelet instead of costing the city money sitting in jail.
Hi, guys. How was your day at school?
Like most people on home detention, he's allowed to leave home during the day to go to work or attend classes or counseling sessions. But he has to be home at 6 p.m. and remain there the rest of the night. If he's late or he leaves, the electronic device on his telephone will send a signal to BI headquarters in Boulder, which notifies the authorities in Denver that he's violated the conditions of his release and is subject to rearrest. That's the way it's supposed to work, but the reality is sometimes very different. Norm Early used to be the district attorney in Denver, and he thinks the public is being sold a bill of goods.
It's not home arrest, it's not home detention, it's not tracking, and it's not home monitoring.
Well, if it isn't any of those things, what is it?
What it is an ability to know if a person's within a certain confines during a specified period of time, and that's it.
Early says people think the system can do all sorts of things that it can't do.
Such as?
Such as tracking down offenders immediately, being able to determine where offenders are once they leave their homes. Sometimes people believe that these people are confined to their homes on a 24-hour basis, which is very rarely the case.
You can't track them.
No, these are not tracking devices, and if an individual absconds from a program, there's no way that a law enforcement officer or the person who runs the program for a governmental agency can determine where they are.
In fact, you don't have to abscond from the program for authorities not to know where you are. It's entirely possible for someone on home detention to commit a whole series of violent crimes without their bracelet ever setting off an alarm. Take the case of convicted rapist Brian Soule, who a judge released on home detention while he was awaiting trial for armed robbery. Soule had been supervised by Trina Wagner, who owns a tiny home detention company called Monitoring Services Incorporated in Prince George's County, Maryland. Good client?
Did everything he was supposed to do on the program, reported in when he was supposed to, kept in constant contact with me. I didn't have a problem with him, no.
Never violated the terms of his home detention?
No.
But while Soule was wearing the bracelet, checking in with Trina Wagner, and going home every night like he was supposed to, by day, when he was allowed out to go to work, police say he managed to find time to commit a brutal series of rapes, assaults, and robberies, one of which took place literally a few minutes after he left Trina Wagner's office.
Obviously, this bracelet was not much of a deterrent to Mr. Soule.
I don't believe it would be much of a deterrent to anyone who is intent on committing crimes.
It certainly wasn't a deterrent to Mark Ambrose, who robbed a Connecticut jewelry store and shot 2 people in the head while wearing the bracelet. And it wasn't a deterrent to Joseph Whitlow, who simply cut off his bracelet before murdering his former girlfriend and killing himself in Texas.
You have to remember, these programs were never meant for violent offenders. And every time you put a violent offender on this program or an abuser, domestic violence abuser on these programs, you're asking for troubles.
In the early days, home detention was used mostly in cases of misdemeanors, nonviolent felonies, and white-collar crimes. And in many communities, it's still used that way. But what most people don't know is that there are all sorts of dangerous people out there wearing the bracelet. People accused of violent felonies and awaiting trial, people on probation for committing violent crimes, and career criminals who have already served their time in prison and are now out on parole.
We have virtually every derivation of criminal that you can define being monitored on our systems today as we sit here. Every conceivable type of offender that you can imagine.
Murderers?
I'm sure.
Rapists?
I'm sure. Absolutely. Now the question is, those people are out after having served their full sentences. Would you like them out on a straight parole program?
What Hunter is saying is that 97% of all the people sent to prison eventually get out, released to the supervision of overworked parole departments, which may only be required to check up on them every couple of months. Hunter says the bracelet gives authorities one more tool to keep track of dangerous people.
We have to release them on some sort of a program. Do you release them absolutely free as you and I are free, or do you restrict their movements? Do you actually dictate some of the terms and conditions of their probation and parole?
The argument is this is better than nothing.
Oh, absolutely.
My only problem with that is the false sense of security that victims and members of society get as a result of the fact that they have this device on. People think that it somehow gives them a greater sense of safety, greater degree of safety because the device is on the individual. And
because somebody's watching them and paying
sure,
attention.
And nothing could be further from the truth.
You keep using the word incarceration to describe it. You're saying they're incarcerated in
their homes.
They're incarcerated in their homes.
Right.
In fact, the home incarceration you talk about, they are free to leave that home and do whatever they want to do. Isn't it sort of an honor system, isn't it?
It is not an honor system, it's a dishonor system. Because in fact, as soon as they leave, the system of electronics will call the violation out to the authorities. And at that point then, you know exactly what you must do to apprehend the person, bring them back into the jurisdiction, if necessary, retry them, reconvict them, and put them back into a prison that's a much more secure setting for that particular offender.
Well, they can't go out and apprehend the person because they don't know where the person is. You know where they aren't. And they aren't in the house. That's all you know.
In fact, you can't even assume local authorities are going to respond to a violation right away. In most cases, they don't. And in some cases, it might take 2 or 3 days to respond. And by then, it may be too late. Take the case of Graylin Winbush, an extremely violent 20-year-old who was paroled from the California Youth Authority in December of 1995. At the start of the Christmas holiday weekend, BI Incorporated, which was monitoring his bracelet, received 2 electronic alerts. The first indicated that Winbush was almost 20 minutes late returning home, and about 2 hours later, the bracelet stopped transmitting altogether for a period of 4 days. Where was Graylin Winbush? According to his own confession, he was murdering 20-year-old Erica Beeson. When Oakland police arrived on the scene, this is what they found.
The victim had been bound, tied up, and there was indication of that when we got there.
Stabbed?
Stabbed, yeah, and strangled was the final cause of death.
What was the motive?
The motive was robbery.
Now, you might expect that someone from the parole office of the California Youth Authority would have gone out to check on Winbush during the 4 days his transmitter had stopped working, since he was technically in violation of his parole. But in fact, there wasn't even anyone in the Oakland office to receive the fax that BI sent, let alone take any action. Francisco Alarcon is the director of the California Youth Authority.
Well, the way our program works is that we're to respond as soon as possible on the first available workday.
The first available workday?
Correct.
Are your offices manned 24 hours a day?
No, they're not.
So if a call comes in at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock after people have left the office on a Friday, nothing's going to happen until Monday.
Correct.
And if something happened over the Christmas holidays or something like that on a Friday, and it might be longer than 3 days. Might be 4 or 5 days.
That's correct, although that's obviously much more unusual because there aren't that many holidays that run through Tuesday.
Alarcon's own press release on the Beeson murder defended the use of the bracelet, saying the use of electronic monitoring allows a parole agent to act quickly if there are problems.
I mean, it says here in plain English, act quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily assume that to mean the next beginning of the next business day.
Well, that's your definition.
I mean, that could be 2-3 days. That's not quickly.
Possibly, yeah.
Is it? Do you consider that quickly?
Well, it's not as quickly as I would like, obviously.
Norm Early knows it's not quickly and says no one is more familiar with the shortcomings of home detention than criminals.
The word travels very, very quickly within individual programs, how those programs are being monitored by the law enforcement agency, the criminal justice agency, and what they are or are not capable of doing or doing.
So they know it doesn't work?
Sure, the pipeline lets them know.
That's something Erica Beeson's mother, Melita, says she can't accept. She's suing both the California Youth Authority and BI Incorporated for not paying enough attention to the man accused of murdering her daughter.
If they had just even inquired into why he was 18 minutes late, if they had just made that attempt to find out why, maybe that would have kept him from doing it.
Who do you think is most responsible here?
If they are going to use these devices, then they should have a policy of monitoring them properly. I think that's the least you can expect.
Yo. Yeah. Check them. These are the new Jordans.
That's it, huh? Yeah, how much these cost, man?
$139, $150 with tax.
$150?
Yeah.
Where the holes at?
They're on the inside, though. You gotta lace them up that way.
Yeah, do that for me, man. Huh?
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right, you got it, man.
Let's get rid of this person.
$139. It's arthritis, you know. I got that arthritis thing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother's got the same arthritic condition.
Do he?
Only it's his left ankle. It's going around here in Coney Island.
Yeah. It's contagious.
Like the plague.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it, Lord? Shootout in Stackmish, fire in the city a block away. One of Rick's shots hit Missy. The reason why he did it, his tank was on E. Crib got raided and lost about 3. 50 a year, 10 in silverware. Another 60 that was married to his neck, arm, and ear. Just got divorced. Stephanie left him for a ball player. Took the kids and moved to Georgia. Shell and B as a man thinker. For every action there's a reaction. See in this case he started spazzing, gambling in my holy park. Green and yellow gargoyles. Size 9 magic show face fucking with stars. Craig Mack blowout. Braided. You got the new shit, son. Betty find a way to outdate it. Timberland's funeral was mustard. Man-made corruption. Tailor-made production. He had a seed in a Wally jumper. Ronnie Bump nephew, butt ass pulled up in the corner in the comforter. Paulette was his main whiz. She guzzled 99 bananas, squeezing niggas' dicks in front of cameras. Light-skinned little Kim, Chanel brim. One nigga hitting that. This the shit that rich niggas drip. Rick brother pies on to be home. Estimate 30 days, brolic arms. Fresh out the cage. Do the story seem intriguing? When P come home, will he have all these niggas' mouths bleeding? The young black traveler mix. We open eyes on the disc, try to resist, reviving the rich. Airbrush money when we walk. Most highly paid cheaper hawk. Checking how you walk, tell a story, Lord. The young black traveler mix. We open eyes on the disc, try to resist, reviving the rich. Airbrush money when we walk. Most highly paid cheaper hawk. Checking how you walk, tell a story, Lord. Went down like Wednesday. Lounge gave a party at the Wave. Seen armor truck money, everybody paid. Niggas in the back watching. Everything butterscotch. Kelly ass better, they dead at his watch. Moving with the New Hampshire niggas. Riding them catering. Sleeping with them sneaky ass wizards. Guess who appeared out the blue? Start drizzling. Stood pies on, laying in the act with 2 women. How his whip look? The shit look dressy. Banged up vest piece. You know how his vest be. Lavender bird, 2-inch beak, parakeet, name unique. Who knew the 1 to 40 in the week? 12 o'clock on the disc night. We went to check the moon out. Vibes I'm getting, I had to clear the room out. Took his hat off, spiral. Used to be my idol. 30-inch telephone, lip to his eyeball. Playing the ball, moved his hands from out his pocket. Real heavy, like he brought his rings from Liberace. Had his parrot with him, unique. You see these niggas frontin' in here? Yo, P, they pussy with one gun in here. The music stopped, bitches dropped. Shit jumped off by the bathroom. And yo, oh shit, that's sad soon. P jumped up, grabbed his ratchet, felt sorry for him. First shot was ill, clapped his parrot. Blew him off son's shoulder. So many feathers at the club coughing. That's when Pazon lost it. He wigged out, crying, spit out. He's living like dead presidents. Real life, he's letting it out. It was a shotty that murdered Pie. Guess who did it? The slick young bitches on the stop. The young black travel the mix. We open eyes on the disc. Try to resist, reviving the rich. Airbrush money when we walk. Most highly paid Chiba Hawk. Checking how he walk. Tell a story, Lord. The young black travel the mix. We open eyes on the disc. Try to resist, reviving the rich. Airbrush money when we walk. Most highly paid Chiba Hawk. Checking how he walk. Tell a story, Lord.